Prepare for an unforgettable rugby experience at the 4th Aegean Rugby Festival in Hania, Crete, Greece on June the 7th and 8th, 2025. This one-of-a-kind event combines beach and sevens rugby on the same action-packed weekend. Group games are on Saturday with knockout stages on Sunday, all officiated by certified Rugby Europe referees. Compete with teams from across Europe and beyond and celebrate with an epic beach after party on Hania's Golden Sands. Prize money, exclusive goodies and memories that will last a lifetime await you. For full details, click on www.aegeanrugbyfestival.com and our Facebook and Instagram pages. See you there. Hello and welcome to the Happiness Is podcast with me, your host, Bruce Aitchison from Happiness Shaped, and today I am more excited than I have ever been. I've been trying to track this man down forever. He's avoided me, he's sidestepped, he's hidden, he's run away, he's done everything he could, but now I've got him, and I'm going to waste no more time. I'm going to introduce my hero, a man I've known for almost 150 years, the one and the only Roddy Deans. Hello, big handsome man.
Hello, Bruce. That's a very kind introduction. How are you?
Bruce? Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't realise it was Sunday already. It's nice to see you. I'm delighted. You've avoided this, but I've trapped you now. You can not escape anymore.
10 years, I think. I've avoided it. You know I don't like talking about myself, mate. So,
but we're gonna, and we're gonna go right back to the very start. So we've known each other since we were about 10, 11.
Yes.
And it was football that brought us together. And I had no idea. I just knew Roddy. I didn't really know the heritage or the background. I just knew it was Roddy Deans from Wilton Primary School, who was the only person I knew that owned a full tracksuit, had shorts and T-shirt and socks that matched when he came to football. And I thought, I like this guy, and we got on for the very start. But you just played football because everybody played it, but rugby was the first love and the only love, really, yeah?
No, I don't think so. I think football to start with. Just loved it at school, and got the opportunity to go to sports school, which was an amazing thing back then, and it was a great way to just make friends at that point, just at school. So everyone sort of played football more than rugby at that point. Rugby came a little bit later for me, more so at high school, I would say. Obviously, it was there at primary school, and let's pay some respects to May Sinclair, who you know very well, who did a remarkable and amazing job with Greg Oliver. You know, God rest his soul. In Hawick, in rugby, sort of started to take over P7 into high school type of thing. But no, I loved it. I loved the round ball, and I remember meeting you for the first time, and I've never met a kid that spoke so much in all the. I've never seen anything like it at that age. But he's not changing much.
Still, I knew you were going to get that in early.
Us boys from Hawick had never come across people with so much confidence and ability to speak at that age, but it was good to see.
You've mentioned Hawick at least twice there.
Yeah.
Like Hawick, small town, you have to play everything. You played football, you played tennis, you played cricket, you played rugby, you played in the street, you were on your bike. It was, changed days. But rugby is the constant in Hawick. And you mentioned, like, May Sinclair there was obviously a bit a disciple of Bill McLaren. You mentioned Greg Oliver, who, you knew better than me, but we both knew well. Amazing guy. We could be here all day talking about Hawick heroes and people that have given to the game and helped others. And did you realise how big it was, or were you just being Roddy?
Yeah, no clue, mate. Absolutely no clue at all. I look back and growing up in a place like Hawick, and incredible place to grow up in. Like so free. Could go anywhere we wanted. On bikes, so safe. But there's just everyone just played sport together, and there were so many strong mentors in the town. British Lions, Scotland players, Hawick players. But at the same time, our teachers at school, at primary school, secondary school, they were the ones who instilled sport in me. I still remember my PE teacher, Mrs. Wolfenden at Wilton School, and obviously May and Greg, and then my PE teachers at Hawick High School. And talking about Greg Oliver, a big mentor in my life, but Grant McKenzie, who sadly passed away as well, was a huge mentor in a lot of boys' lives at Hawick High School from S1 right through until he moved to the dark side when he moved to Stuarts Melville. But we've all done that, so.
Be careful, Obi-Wan. Be careful.
I know.
You mentioned names there, so there's like Grant McKenzie, people that were in Hawick at the time, like you. Grant played a massive part and was a role model and just had that energy that young folk wanted to be a part of. And then he moved on. But not many people will probably be able to give him the credit that he had in helping your generation of young men, mostly at that point, mostly young men, to fall in love with it, stay with it, play, coach, referee. There's a lot of heroes in Hawick, but folk like Grant probably didn't get the credit maybe that they deserve.
No, not at that point. It wasn't just Grant either. There was Sandy Grieve and there was Sandy Wilson. There was great mentors in the school, and May Cully as well. There was great PE teachers right through the school, and I just remember the sport and everyone was thriving to get to the PE department. And to be honest, the whole school was really strong back then. Jim Telfer was our head teacher at one point, and what else more can you ask for? Like, he'd be standing at the front of the school, arms folded, and there's people sprinting into school. There's nobody late, nobody on phones, uniform, ties, the whole thing. The standards were high. There was no messing about. So that's just what the standards were back then. That's what the expectation was. But that was driven from the people that were leading the programs. And then you went to Hawick Wanderers, and there's people like Wally Gray, who, God rest his soul, as well. So like amazing mentors, because Wally Gray ended up taking loads of us boys from 15 to 18 at Hawick Wanderers through the process, and then he ended up being the groundsman at Hawick, and he was like my second dad. He'd be very quick to tell me things that wasn't going well, but he'd be very quick to be in the changing room celebrating with us at the end of it, after a win. And he was an unbelievable character. Like, you don't find people like him anymore. Like, he was a PT in the military, and he'd be the one up the back of the bus singing song after song after song. And it wasn't just Wally Gray. There was 10 committee men at that point. There was lots of coaches off feeding into, and at that point there would have been 40 of us at the Wanderers at under 18, 40 of us at the PSA. So you're talking 80 odd boys at under 18s, just wanting to play for Hawick.
It's funny because we were talking on the phone this morning about volunteers and sport, and that what you're talking about there feels like it was another world, but it was just what you did. It was the community. You didn't really know any different. And you mentioned your second dad, Greg's a mentor, Grant's a mentor, the number of people that had influence on you.
Yeah. And
obviously your old man. Were you aware of what your dad was doing at the time, or is it only now when you look back and go, wow?
I'm pretty naive to that, to be honest. It was just like a whirlwind growing up, and we used to go on a summer holiday, and you'd be getting on the plane, going across to wherever we were going, and people were talking to Dad or coming up to Dad and speaking to him, even at the side of the pool. It was a weird one, and I just thought everybody on holiday was from Hawick. When I was a young kid, and at that point he's a recognised place, obviously, and I just thought everybody was from Hawick, and the Chase holidays just all went to the same place abroad. But no, I mean, me and my brother as young kids had no idea. We had no idea the level my dad was operating at, or we knew the extras he was putting in, because like not that many people will have seen it, but that dad was a complete workaholic in his business, but with his rugby, you know, he'd be the one up doing bodyweight circuits in the house at stupid o'clock, training at night. Like, you never hardly saw him really growing up from a young age, because he was so dedicated.
And playing for Hawick at that point was tough. Like to maintain your place in the Hawick team, never mind playing for the South in Scotland and the British Lions. It was a fight to play for Hawick. I mean, the trades, the YM, the Lindeen, the Harlequins, the number of clubs in Hawick you had to get through to then play for Hawick. It was almost like you were going through leagues and trials to get to play for Hawick. Never mind then stay there and play for the South before you got to it. I mean, there was so many layers, and your old man was one of those who, you know, made it to the British Lions and set the standard for a lot. But the base level standard of boys in the Hawick team was really high.
Scary talent back then. I mean, my week was geared towards going to Mansfield on a Saturday. You know, that was the thing. That was the reward at the end of the week, to get down to Mansfield as early as possible. And I've talked to you about this before. Didn't matter what job you were doing. You probably started selling raffle tickets, then made your way up to selling the programs, and then up to the scoreboard, then up to ball boy. And it was like a hierarchy. You were like sort of, you had to do your time at each sort of different level and get up there. But I was talking about this the other day. Like I was in that Hawick changing room when I was tiny, and I just grew up in that changing room listening to people dissecting rugby or talking about rugby. And then I was saying this the other day, talking about the big baths, you know, at the end of the game, and I'd be in the bath with the players, you know. Like that type of thing now would just be a complete, utter no-no. And those are the memories of, like, and it wasn't just me, there was a whole group of us at the time, you know, a whole group of young kids just loving life at Mansfield and just aspiring to play for the Green Machine. I suppose at that point we didn't think there was anything else in the world than Hawick and playing for Hawick and staying in Hawick, you know. We didn't realise there was another world out there, really.
It's funny you say that, because I was going to say that to you. When we were kids, that those stories you're telling, rugby wasn't a job. No, nobody was getting paid for rugby. So the ambition was just play for Hawick and do something in between. Like Hawick was the ambition, or was it be a teacher and then play for Hawick?
I mean, I was so inspired by sport, but people around me as well. And I think Grant McKenzie was such a big hero for us all when we were young kids, and he was just such a cool guy as well. He was totally different. He was from Zimbabwe, wasn't he? So, like, he just came to Hawick with this totally different way of communicating, and like just looking after us, because we were young dafties as well, and. And he was so inspiring in a specific way. He just wanted to be in his company. And the crazy thing is, I even remember, so like I couldn't get it around my head why he stayed in Gala and why he played for Gala YM. I was just like, that shouldn't be happening. You should be playing for Hawick, Grant. But I remember there was at one point we got on I don't know if it was the X95 back then, but there was a group of us went across to watch him play for Gala YM. Now, you wouldn't get many Hawick boys going across to watch anybody playing Gala, but you know what I mean? Like we went across, the whole group of us went to watch Grant play for Gala YM. I think just because he was that much an inspiration for us. So that set me on my path there, you know, thinking that's something I could potentially do in the future. But yeah, playing for Hawick was always a huge goal for me, but that's something I never ever thought I would play for Hawick. I never ever thought I was good enough. You know, I probably wasn't when I was younger. You know, I was definitely a late developer in that sense. My first game for the Hawick Wanderers, believe it or not, was against Bob Christie at scrum half. You know, I mean, I don't think I slept. I also remember playing against Clark Laidlaw, and I think Jed Thistle were unbeaten as well. And here's
that was a strong age group.
I mean, I don't think I slept the night before. That was the most nervous I'd ever been. I think it was. I playing against Clark. I've never slept. I never slept the night before, and then so obviously I'm not a scrum half. You know that. So that's where I started because I was wee, obviously, and then I got the whole thing. Oh, you can maybe play hooker. So I played hooker for a while, and then got moved to the back row. And but I never went straight to Hawick from Hawick Wanderers. I went to Hawick YM. My uncle Dan was there. Dan. He's an absolute hero. He's a Hawick legend. I had no choice really because, I did. My dad played for the trades. My dad at the time was saying, "Why not go to the trades?" But there was no choice. My uncle Dan had me sort of hook, line, and sinker going to the YM, and plus my papa Peter was also president of the Hawick YM. So I absolutely loved it at the Hawick YM. And when I look back on some of the toughest games I've ever played, and if we talk about learning the game and learning environment, some of the toughest games I ever played in my rugby career was Hawick YM, the Hawick Trades or the Hawick Glendale, like a local derby, and there'd be thousands at that game. And that was a semi-junior game, and also you'll imagine I did get a bit of heat and a bit of attention just because of who it was, because they're like, show this little bugger. This little cocky bugger, Collins boy. Let's show him a bit of heat coming my way. And at the time, I probably shied away from that. And then when I started to develop, I started to sort of maybe not thrive in it, but enjoy that sort of targeted element of showing people that I could hold my own a wee bit. But I mean, played some amazing games for the YM, some amazing bus trips with them. And some unbelievable characters and some unbelievable players at that stage, like not even in the Hawick team. Like they are playing our defence at the YM. I remember the day Hawick came over the fence for me.
I love this story. This is one of my favourites.
My Uncle Dan's like, look, didn't be blinded by the lights over there. You didn't need to be gone over there. Obviously talking in Hawick dialect here, and here's me just a young dafty going, no, I totally agree, Dan. I'm not going over the fence. And I remember Terence Froud came for me, and obviously I'm not going to swear, but my Uncle Dan's like, you're not going anywhere, son. So Terence came and spoke to me, and I think at that point I said to Terence, no, I'm all right. I'll just stay at the YM. And that's just the way it was, and I thought I was doing the right thing. And then I spoke to my dad about it, and he was like, "Phone them back. You're going to Hawick." That was me. Obviously, set my way across the fence, and went and played in the big lights at Hawick. I absolutely loved my time at Hawick. I mean, some of the best memories, some of the best friends. And played in some unbelievable teams with some unbelievable players.
It was a class era. Now one of the brilliant things and I miss this, and I know there's still kind of there, but not in the way it was. We're beginning to sound really old here. Yeah. But on a Sunday morning, we'd have South training, whether it was under 18s, under 19s, 21s, and we were quite a close group. I don't really know why. I think we were just lucky because we had quite a lot of characters with Mitchell and Ruthven and Beezer from Melrose and yourself and the merry band, the Dafties for Hawick, and me and Pete and Bunn for Gala and Roddy for Selkirk and blah, blah. Like those were happy times. But you went hard Saturday club game, met Sunday, trained, and then played Monday or Wednesday. And then you were back into it with club Tuesday, Thursday, playing. Like nowadays, if we said that to an under 18 player or like a young player, they'd look at you like you landed from Mars.
A bit different mindset now. The
game's we just wanted to play. We just wanted to play, and if it meant you trained 5 times and played twice a week, you just wanted to do it. You did.
It's interesting. There wasn't many distractions back then, actually. There wasn't that many options for us. And the thing is, like all our peer groups, all our boys were doing it, and if we weren't doing it, and if I wasn't at once training, Wally Gray would have been phoning the house asking where I was. So there was real accountability and like real characters at that point that made sure if somebody fell off the side or if somebody they were quickly picked back up and brought back in. But we'd play a full game for Hawick on the Saturday, and we'd be across the Gala early doors on the Sunday, and Derek Turnbull would be waiting for you, Sticks would be waiting for you there. So another mentor. We never had a choice, and it wasn't that we never wanted to do it, but as soon as he's standing in front of you, again, it was like you were just inspired just to crack on, and we would train pretty hard again on the Sunday, then back across to Hawick or back up to Edinburgh, and that's how it kind of was.
So we were leaving school, going into age groups, and the game started to change. The game became pro just as we were going into senior rugby. Did you think of that, or were you? Did you want to be a pro?
Of course I did. Like, wanted to play at the highest level, didn't I? And yeah, that was always my ambition. To try and play at that highest level. And I think we all gave it a good enough shot, and a lot of the boys that we played with definitely did. But as you're aware, my shoulders kept falling out. Literally, just dislocating all the time. So yeah, that was difficult. It was difficult to deal with because back then as well, I had surgery quite a few times, and probably didn't do the rehab required. Probably got back on the pitch way too quickly. Wasn't ready. There wasn't the sports science. There probably wasn't the support around at that point. But I mean, just going on to that, like Sandy Lyle was my physio, who's still at Heriot's now. I think she's been there 15 odd years. I mean, she was absolutely incredible. She kept me on the field for a long, long time at Premiership level. She if it hadn't been for her, my career would have been over pretty early. She's the type of person, if we phoned Sandy at 3 o'clock in the morning, if there was an issue, she'd have been there in half an hour. Another amazing sort of inspirational person that does an unbelievable job still, and most people would say that about her as a physio. She is second to none.
But there's so many people through the game and through both our journeys and stories that you look at and you think, why were they doing it? And we'll get to that later. So you're playing club rugby. The game was all over the place in Scotland, whether it was districts, clubs, representative. Some people got pro contracts, then they went for 4-2, and you had time in New Zealand. What were you trying to do? Were you just trying to keep playing, and were you knocking on doors saying, have a look at me? Were you just playing and trying to let that do your talking, or how were you trying to do it?
That wasn't how it worked back then, was it? You didn't knock on doors. You didn't put your head above the parapet, and it was obviously a bit more difficult for who I was as well, because being son of, etc. There is that extra pressure on you. The eyes are on you all the time, type of thing. You're never wanting to come across as pushy or arrogant. And to be fair in Hawick, if you come across as arrogant or pushy, you're put back in your place pretty quickly, as you're well aware of. So I mean, Nana, I was just living the dream playing for Hawick, to be honest. Each year at that point, we were all playing with a massive amount of mates. We were so tight. I can still remember we went on tour to Trinidad and Tobago, and there's 50 boys on that tour. Incredible tour. Just so amazing. And we came back off the back of that tour, and people talk about that a lot. I mean, we went on to win the league 2 years in a row, and won the Scottish Cup and Border Leagues off the back of that tour and that squad. And a lot of boys ended up going on to play for the Borders at that point, and Scotland. Like that's what the club was at the time. Just an amazing place. And like, you know the story on me as well. I lost my mum at that time. Dad was away. My family was the Hawick boys and my mates, and they were the ones that got me through the tough times. And if I never had them, I wouldn't have had anything else. So Like, that was it. That was rugby and my mates were my family at that point, and that's what kept us going.
I'm really interested you say that, because there's a lot we didn't know about mental health. Nobody knew about mental health when we were 20 years old. I don't think I'd ever heard the phrase mental health when I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And we were all going through things. Everybody was going through something. A lot of it, was me trying to figure out who I was. But I think most of us were trying to figure out who we were. Then you got dealt that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But rugby's been priceless in both our lives for lots of reasons. But in that period of 5 years, probably for you and more, if you hadn't had somewhere to be on a Tuesday and a Thursday and a Saturday, and then the gym to go to and extra sessions to do and mates to go out with after, like, it doesn't, I hate to think what would have happened. But when we fast forward to the environment we're both in now, I wish more folk could see the value in that. And I know we've spoken about this before. Like, we didn't have to play for Scotland. What we got was priceless.
It was just there, wasn't it? It just held us together. You know, in my toughest times, my mates were there. My good mates are like my brothers. And I was never left on my own. There was always somebody with me. You know, you ever needed anything, they were there in a heartbeat. You know, and I think that's what
you also said it with Willie Gray. If you hadn't been there, people would have noticed. You know, if you're not part of something, then nobody knows when you're not there. But if you hadn't turned up on a Tuesday or a Thursday, people would have noticed, so they would have checked in. So although we didn't know about mental health, we would have known if there was something wrong. I don't know if I'm making that really clear, but it also meant you had an hour and a half on a Tuesday or Thursday and a Saturday where the only thing you had to think about was him running at you with the ball, or you got the ball in your hand. You weren't worrying about some of that other stuff that was going on in your life at the time.
It's a fair point. I mean, I don't even think we'd have asked each other if we were okay at that point. I just think we were there for each other, you know. And that's what growing up in a place like the Borders does. You have a tight group of mates who you all look after each other, and in times of need, we all supported each other. And I mean, didn't even think about or contemplate mental health at that point. You know, of what we were going through, me or my brother or anything.
Were you okay?
Nah, probably not. Probably definitely not. And you know, life was always a tough challenge. Anyway, like you mentioned, my dad back then. It's not easy growing up with a famous dad. There's a lot of pressures and complications come with that. So life was always different and difficult at times. And I suppose I didn't really think about it at the time. You just sort of navigated through it, and maybe just got through the other end. But the only reason we got through the other end was because we were so close with each other, and boys knew boys needed help just by being there for them. Didn't really talk about anything really. Like in this day and age, you would be talking about it and you'd be going to see somebody. There was no support. I wasn't going to see anybody at that point. We were just, I suppose there was a wee bit of just get on with it, son, and just toughen up, which we probably did do. But at the same time, all your mates are around you all the time. And if you are falling off the side, somebody's looking after you.
And that tightness, I mean, there was others in that changing room, whatever it was, a South, a Hawick changing room, were going through stuff. But that Hawick changing room, that squad, you could probably have picked the 15 almost every week, but there was another 15 to 30 guys who were banging down the door, desperate to play. I mean, to win the cup, there's a fair chunk of luck. To win a league, you have to be the best team, and your standards were so high. And nobody wanted to go to Mansfield. I mean, everybody at Hawick just thrives on, let's make Mansfield as difficult as possible to come to. And you loved that.
It was a point of difference for us. But when I was a young kid playing for Hawick, I just needed to look around the changing room or look in the programme, and I was like, I'm fine today. Like, look at the boys around us. And but I also knew if I wasn't at training, Danny Landals, Barry Keoghan, Gareth Walker, Jamie Parker, Watty Davis, Nick Martin. There's so much talent that would just come in and take your place. So I knew if I didn't make training, I wouldn't be in the team, and one of those boys would be. Like we had a real combination of some really like athletic, abrasive forwards, but we had an unbelievable backline. Some proper talent there. And some proper talent that didn't go on. Gav Douglas being one of them, probably the most talented player I've seen or played with up there anyway. And didn't get a break, really. But what a player! But we were just so lucky that everyone wanted to play for the town. And at that time, we were all in Edinburgh. There was like 15 of us, all driving back every Tuesday, Thursday, including Sandy Lyle. So there was car foos, as they say, coming down the A7. And we were not late for training. We were probably first there.
Yeah, that's always. Prepare for an unforgettable rugby experience at the 4th Aegean Rugby Festival in Hania, Crete, Greece on June the 7th and 8th, 2025. This one-of-a-kind event combines beach and sevens rugby on the same action-packed weekend. Group games are on Saturday with knockout stages on Sunday, all officiated by certified Rugby Europe referees. Compete with teams from across Europe and beyond and celebrate with an epic beach after party on Hania's Golden Sands. Prize money, exclusive goodies and memories that will last a lifetime await you. For full details, click on www.aegeanrugbyfestival.com and our Facebook and Instagram pages. See you there. And how did you get asked to be captain? Did you know it was coming? How did you get the captaincy? Because there's proud moments playing for Hawick, but to be made captain and you've written your piece for the book but being cap, like I didn't get to be captain that often, but when I did, I always thought it was a massive honour. But to be captain of Hawick, how did you get asked? How did it come around? How did it feel? How did you do it?
I remember Terence Frow just asking me, like, I was always a leader of some sort on the field, whether it was by action. I probably did speak too much and probably did piss a lot of people off back then, but I was just like, it was just in my DNA to be a competitive animal, I suppose. I couldn't really switch that off when I was playing for Hawick. I was sort of playing for the town, playing for my family and heritage, I suppose. And it was, I suppose, just through the years of playing for Hawick and just starting to lead, I suppose it was a natural sort of thing for me to go into that sort of mould. And I was very proud to have captained Hawick because obviously my dad was captain of Hawick as well. So that was really, really cool.
What did your dad say when you told him you were going to be captain?
As you know, my dad doesn't say too much, H. He'd have just said, "Well done, son." That'd have been it. Man, a few words with that type of thing. I know he's a very proud dad, but you don't get too much out of him. When I used to, how do you think I played, Dad? I did all right. But to be honest, H, that's probably the best thing for me. The world we work in, and I'm sure we'll go on and talk about that at the next point. But I see a lot of kid-parent interactions, from a young age, and I'm going through that now with my boy who's 8, who's playing rugby, and everyone's like that. You're coaching him. I'm like, I'm not. I'm going to let this boy do whatever he wants to do because that's what my dad did to me, and I found my own pathway. I think if Dad had put me under any pressure or dissected my games by any point, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed that. My dad's smart enough to know, like, he didn't need to do that with me anyway because, like, I was already my biggest critic anyway.
Yeah, it's funny when I spoke to Clark Laidlaw he sort of spoke about that. It wasn't a pressure from his dad, but how he packed in rugby for a wee while because he couldn't handle it. He didn't enjoy it. When you were like, you have always been a leader and you're a competitive beast. You set examples. You're a role model for your peers as well as those that you're working with now as a coach. Did you think you were going to be a coach, or like you've mentioned it a couple of times? I was just getting my way through it. I just wanted to play. Did you ever think about coaching, or did it just happen because playing came to an end?
No, not at all. I mean, as you know, I kept playing obviously at Heriots. I moved to Heriots from Hawick. As I've told you before, that was like a committed to murder. But at that point, I just needed a new focus after I'd lost my mum, and some people maybe still don't understand why I'd done it. But there was a whole load of us in Edinburgh, and it was just time to try something different. And I moved to Heriots Rugby Club, and I absolutely loved it there as well. Like what a club! Amazing boys there as well. I was never really sure if it was going to be the same, but it's obviously not the same as playing for Hawick. But such a historic, prestigious club as well. But amazing boys, and I love my time there as well. And as you know, my shoulder kept falling out, so obviously had to retire. And it's probably just the natural thing for me to go into coaching. And I went into coaching Heriots twos. So I ended up coaching a lot of the boys because I was captain at Heriots from my last year, and then ended up going on to coach a lot of the boys that I'd played with. So the transition was interesting, specifically when I do a lot of reflecting now, whereas back then I wouldn't have done any reflecting because I was just a young dafty. But I reflect back now on what I was like as a coach, oh my God, like
yeah,
slightly embarrassed of what I would have been like as a coach, and very naive and inexperienced and hopeless as a coach, probably. But the reason I was probably getting through at that point is because I was probably a decent motivator and a decent leader. Because we had a really strong Heriots twos team at that point, and we were going well. And I ended up going up and helping Bob with the first team as well. And that's when it just started, and that's where I started. I went back to university, did my postgrad at Edinburgh Uni. And that's where I went into teaching, and the combination of teaching and coaching just sort of kept me going. And I think, as you'll know, becoming a teacher definitely made me a way better coach, just how to get the best out of individuals. And I suppose I've just been on that coaching journey ever since. And as I was speaking to, we have some students in from Heriot Watt University at the school at the minute at Merchiston, and speaking to them yesterday, and I was saying, look, I'm still learning now every single session, so every time I go out, I try and learn. Whereas in those early days, I probably thought I knew everything, but I probably knew nothing.
Yeah, no, I remember hearing Dave Aldred saying when he looked back at things he'd done, he was embarrassed. But then he decided at that point, I was just doing the best of what I had and what I knew. So yeah, to give himself a break, and I know exactly what you mean, because I think I annoyed the players when I first became a head coach because I was just, but because enthusiasm and motivation, it was how it was going. The journey then, you finished playing, you were a leader, it made sense, keeping hold of somebody like yourself within an organisation like Heriots made perfect sense. And the way you were able to develop players, recruit players, it was a no-brainer for them. When you started coaching and you started teaching, was the future just that? I'm going to teach Monday to Friday and coach at the weekend? Or did you think, actually, I could be a professional coach?
At that point, I was just really trying to become the best teacher I could. I never ever thought I was going to end up in an organisation like Merchiston H's. Hand on heart, never. Like, I'll be honest, I never thought I was good enough. I never thought I would fit in. I never thought I would, probably didn't have that much confidence in myself, and so I thought my journey was going to be just, work away in a state school and work in sort of club rugby. I did go back and work for the SRU as the rugby development officer for a bit, and again, I absolutely loved that role as well. So I suppose I was just, as just as I've known my whole life, I've just always been immersed in rugby. It's just we can laugh and joke about it, but like my kids even laugh and joke about it now. They're like, "Oh, what are you watching tonight, Dad? You watching the rugby?" It's what it is. As there is other things to my life than rugby, but
no, there's no. Didn't pretend. Didn't pretend.
There is. However, it's such a big part. I had aspirations to try and get into an organisation or try and get to the highest point where I could, and I never thought I'd be at Merchiston. I look at the position I'm in, and I do laugh. I'm like, how is the boy from Hawick ended up here? How? A lot of people say that's just because of who your dad is. I do get that.
But you and I used to talk about this a lot, and we used to have those moments of, imagine if 10-year-old Roddy and Bruce could see 42-year-old Roddy and Bruce.
The shaking the head, mate.
Shaking
their head.
What has happened? Looking back, so coaching, like you've mentioned 20 names of people that have influenced you. And I'm not you're too humble.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that you've impacted without probably ever realizing at the time what it was you were doing. You were just dealing with what was in front of you. You've worked with club players, some of them would have been older than you. Some of them were young pups coming straight out of school. You've been a teacher, you've worked in school. When you look back on it and you hear yourself saying the things about Grant McKenzie, specifically, how do you feel when people say that about Roddy Deans?
I don't like it. I don't think about it too much, but it is probably my motivation in a way. Like I want to give back or be that person that they were to me, just because it gave me everything. I still enjoy every single minute going to work, going to my job. Like it doesn't even feel like a job sometimes. Just being able to help and support players, whether that's kids at school or coaches within my department or parents or I'm I'm back helping at Hawick a wee bit when I can. I mean. I just enjoy helping folk each year,
and that's the point. So rugby has given you opportunity, relationships, support, confidence, relationships. It's given you so much that you never really, none of us realized. We just thought we were playing a game, but it's a cliche. It's more than a game. But now you've got to this point of life, 45 years on the rock, and you're not talking about making people better at kicking or tackling or passing. You're talking about helping them as people. That's a big old change.
Yeah, I suppose it is. There'll be a lot of people out there, in the world doing it though. Like there's so many volunteers. Look at the club volunteers in the game in Scotland. There's so many people out there doing it. We'll know that they'll not recognise the impact they're making. There's so many good people out there. I'm just extremely lucky to do it in unbelievable environments. People ask me about the Merchiston environment quite a lot, or what is it? What is it? The culture. I mean, the culture of Merchiston was there way before I was there. We talk about this a lot, but that
you're right. Whoa! I'm going to cut you off there because I'm not having that.
Yeah,
I'm not having that. You're right. The culture was there. There was a culture that was there.
Yeah,
but you've now been there for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And people from other schools have spoken to me about the impact, the positive impact you've had on the culture at Merchiston. And I'm not going to go into that in detail, but you need to recognise the impact you've had on that culture. And you're right, it was there, but it could have fallen to bits if it wasn't in the right hands. And you've now got a culture that is in the image of its leader, which is you. The culture you're talking about, so this weekend there's probably half a dozen, if not more, Merchistons playing in the Edinburgh and Glasgow teams. There's other Merchistonians, not necessarily that have been with you, but a lot of them have, playing in other leagues and divisions, and playing in the amateur game that they're not on TV. When you see that, and you can use that for the groups you're working with now as role models and targets to hit, how do you think that lands with the people you're speaking to? So if you're speaking to an 18-year-old that you're working with now about a player that's in the Scotland squad, do you think they realise that's possible? Because you're saying things from when you were a kid, you didn't think you were good enough. Do you think those kids are seeing something that they can believe in? Or do you think they're just listening to Mr. Deans telling them a story?
No, it's a great point. I think that's everything, H. I think people do say, in a sense, like, why is there so many Merchiston boys playing for Edinburgh and Glasgow or playing in the club game? Because we are a small school in comparative to other schools. What is it? What's the magic in the water type of thing? I think that's it exactly, because the role models are right there in front of them. Like there's role models at the school, like they can see them in the school, and then they see them going on to Edinburgh or Glasgow. Then they see them, and these boys, they come back to the school all the time. So the role models are real, but they're also the role models they can touch them, they can go and speak to them. It's there. It's there for them. I think what that does to our boys coming through our environment goes, well, I can see his pathway. I can see him doing it. It is doable. Like we can do it. It's not like a dream. They can see it. And I was interested. We had a sports meeting this morning on Zoom. It was like COVID again, just because of this wind and. Like Nick DeLuca, we were talking specifically on that. What is it? And having those role models, definitely gives it that it can be done. It can be done.
Yeah, I'm also a believer in the people who are with them day by day are the biggest role models. Yourself, DeLuca, Harrison, these kind of guys. There's another bit to this. So the three main organisations you're associated with: Hawick Rugby Club, Heriot's Rugby Club, Merchiston Castle School. And I know you've been elsewhere, but those are the three main organisations you would associate with Roddy Deans. All three of them thick in history and culture. I mean, the books that are written on them, the people that have come through them, is a who's who of industry, sport, education, and you're one of them in each of those. You're now, with your new venture, looking at taking a lot of that learning and supporting mostly rugby players, but the people that are in their orbit as well. So talk me through this new idea that you've got coming.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky enough to work with Nick DeLuca for the last. He's come to school. This is him in his second year. I've known Nick DeLuca for a long time. I used to hate the bugger when I was playing against him, probably because he was so talented and so good looking. But interestingly, when I moved to Heriot's and ended up spending a lot of time and became very friendly. And we kept in touch with each other, for a long time. When he was down south, and then when he was at Uppingham, and me and Angie coached against him a few times at that Rugby Sevens festival that we were down at that time, and the opportunity for him to come back to Scotland was an amazing opportunity to get him back to school, and he's doing incredible things at the school. He's one of these guys who every time you spend time with him, you come away having learned something. He's got real particular way about him as well that I really enjoy and I really like. You know, he's very to the point, very honest. He's very ambitious, sets very high standards himself, but just wants the best. And you know, I like his directness. You know, he's just holding people accountable, and you know, he's expecting the highest standards. So we've come together with, we're going to launch this Totem Rugby, and everything we've just discussed in this podcast is everything we are hoping to deliver, H. There's a lot of really good people out there doing a lot of really good stuff at rugby camps and rugby. There's loads of really good rugby coaches out there. Totally get that. And I should have done this years ago. I should have. But as you know, H, with me, I probably never had the confidence or the guts to probably go and do it on my own. And a lot of people used to say to me, why are you not running rugby camps, Rod? Why are you not doing it? Yeah, I probably never had the guts to do it. As we know, Nick DeLuca has the guts. You know, he is. That's why me and him work really well together. He's a confident individual. I think the combination of me and him, especially with our personalities and character, I think it's a real fit. So yeah, we're going to launch our first Totem Rugby camp in Peebles in the April holidays. But not just running holistic rugby camps. At some point down the line, we want to get into coach education. We want to be a company that can, or a resource or a source that can go to rugby clubs and help rugby clubs. You know, help them with their rugby development plans, help them with the processes, just give them some sort of support, help the rugby coaches become better. So we want to be able to do that as well. We will also do some one-to-one, you know, athlete support. You know, there's a lot of kids out there that need that one-to-one support to maybe get to that next level. Whereas, as you know, at Merchiston, the boys are pretty lucky what they've got. There's not every child in Scotland has that sort of support. But we also want to do parental support as well, Itchy. We talk about this a lot, that the successful athlete has to be the triangulation between the player, the coach, and the parent. So I've been involved, national age grade teams, 16s, 18s. I've been involved in many schools, many different clubs. Parents are a huge part of this. They have to be on the journey, but they have to understand the journey as well, H. And there's a lot of pressure on boys and there's a lot of pressure on parents. We feel with our experience and skill set, we can make the boy better. We can also support the parent, but we can also make the clubs better. You know, if we can make all those three things better, then at the end of the day, each individual player is going to improve and going to get better.
We're back to something that we sort of mentioned at the start. At no point there did you mention making them better at kicking or passing or tackling. It's part of the whole, isn't it? How they actually perform is just a bit of it. There's so many other pieces to the jigsaw.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, so rugby skills will take care of themselves through the coaching. And myself and Nick and our team of coaches, we'll have a very experienced team of coaches. We will make them better rugby players at their skills. There is no doubt about that in the short space of time that they're with us. But we're hoping that it'll be over periods of time, because obviously in the holidays we will run these camps. But if also people are looking for one-to-one skill support, we can do that as well. And Nick and I, from a forward and a backs point of view, have the skill set to cover most areas of the game in terms of skills. We'll also deliver on rugby IQ. So we'll be looking at tactical awareness and tactical understanding. And as you know, that's a lot. We do that a lot within our programme at Merchiston in terms of developing tactical IQ within boys. But we'll also be trying to make them rugby strong. And what we mean by that is there'll be S&C support in there, and that'll be tailored to the individual. But also we'll give them some resources to keep working on when they're away from the camp. So that they won't just get it when they're in the camp. We can help from when they're away from the camp as well. But the big one, and you'll get this as well, and which every single person that's talked to me about Totem loves the idea, but they're all coming back to me about this. We are going to call it rugby resilience. So as well as being on the field, on the grass, making them better rugby players, we will do workshops within our camps or workshops at rugby clubs. So whoever wants a workshop in a school on rugby resilience, and that might be looking at lots of different various things of, developing a high performance mindset, being able to deal with the social pressures, being able to deal with fear, being able to deal with the sort of all the pressures that come with it to try and make it. So, and make it as a rugby player these days. These are the things we're really going to hone in on, and hopefully be able to build some skills within those workshops that they can deal with these pressures. Because as you know, there's a lot of pressure on young boys, but there's a lot of pressure on the field, actually.
Yeah.
So in a snapshot, that's going to be where a lot of that's our point of difference, I think. That's where we're going to get a lot of bang for our buck in terms of really trying to develop that whole person. I'm probably waffling a wee bit here. I'm probably speaking more than you, which is abnormal, but
it's because you're passionate about it, and I know that, and that's when you get fired up. That's when we see it. And these, I just know, and I can look at a number of professionals that you'll never be short of references. I'd love to think Jamie Dobie's going to get his chance in the Six Nations. It's coming up. Matt Curry's going well. Tom Curry, his little brother's going well. The under-20 squad's named, and Isaac Coates and Hamish McCarthy. So there's so many players there, but I also know you're putting a lot into supporting the players at Hawick and the coaches at Hawick and trying to make that club better. But it sounds like this is an opportunity for you to have a bigger impact, because I wish there was more Roddy Deans around. It would make it a better place. I can't let you go without. I've got a couple left. The first one is, if you could speak to 16-year-old Roddy, what would you say to him?
That's a really interesting point. Christ, you've kind of got me on the spot there.
Well, there's a couple of things here. So one is, I wonder if you'll tell him it's actually going to be all right, which is probably my roundabout way of asking if Roddy Deans at 45 is happy. But the other bit is, are there any points through that journey? Because to me, you've had so much success, you've had such an impact. But is there a moment where you think, if I just got that, maybe I would have got that contract or that cap? Or
maybe there is times I think about that. There is times I think if I'd done the right sort of rehab. I was never shy of working hard. Like, I was committed, but I think the way my body was just genetically made up, I was probably never going to make it to the next level. Don't get me wrong, I would have absolutely loved to have played for my country and followed some footsteps within my family, no doubt. But at the same time, if I'd done that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So, I do absolutely love what I'm doing. I talk about this a lot. To be director of rugby in a school like Merchiston that's just a dream for me still. And let's go back a few stages on this one. And somebody I've mentioned, another massive mentor in my life, and was probably the reason I am director of rugby at Merchiston, is Rob Moffat. And he has been that mentor to you as well. And another he is the god of mentors. Like, in Scotland, he is. And I'll go to this story where I was pretty comfortable teaching at Stuart's Melville College. I loved my 5 years at Trinity Academy. I worked with some amazing kids there that went on to play at a high level as well. But I still bump into some of those Trinity Academy kids in Edinburgh, and so nice to just bump into them and have conversations with them. I bumped into them on a few nights out on the one night out a year type of thing in Edinburgh, or just even uptown in Edinburgh. And it's so nice just to speak to those kids. But I got the opportunity to move to the dark side, to Stuart's Melville College. Not saying that Stuart's Melville College was the dark side. The private schools are the dark side. We know that. But I mean, got the opportunity to move to Stuart's Melville College, and I absolutely loved it at Stuart's Melville College as well. What another, you can chuck that into that organisation, another incredible organisation to work for. Unbelievable, staff there, and I remember like Chris Spence and Lockie in particular. Just another amazing men and amazing people. Phil Wayne as well there, who used to give me so much stick for playing for Heriots. Everything saw. I loved it at Stumel, and I was comfortable and happy there. I was there for 5 years as well, and what an environment that was. It's incredible. As you know, because your wife obviously works there. So also because Grant McKenzie worked at Stuart's Melville College as well, it was like meant to be type of thing, and I taught Grant's boy as well. Like it was unreal. And then got the opportunity obviously to Rob contacted me about going to Merchiston when he went direct to Rugby, and I always had Merchiston. Like I was like, Merchiston was up there. It was like this unknown thing or unknown place, like untouchable. And I went up to Merchiston and met the headmaster and met Richard Sharman and a few others, and that was the opposite end of the spectrum for me. It's like the Hoyt boy up Merchiston. It just in my mind, it's just no working. That just doesn't fit. And when I went up to meet them, it was the opposite end of the earth from me. And I remember leaving, and Moff looked at me, and he's usually went, "Okay, what are you going to say?" And Moff knew me inside out as well, didn't he? And I said, "Nah, Moff, I can't, mate. This is just not me. I just cannot go to this environment. I'm already at Stuart's Melville College, which is halfway to the dark side. I cannot go any further." And I remember he said to me, it was it was a turning point in my life where I think I started to think differently. He looked at me in the eye and he said, "That's the reason you're going. That's the reason you're coming." And then I was looking at him going, "Is this guy mad?" And he was 100% right, wasn't he? I was like, this is the kick up the arse I needed. Like, this is the opportunity I needed to go completely out of my comfort zone. Like, I'm talking the other end of my comfort zone where I was miles out, and the best decision ever. That was a life-changing moment for me in my life and my career. And again, if we're talking about mentors and role models, Moff, absolute legend.
And so there's the going to work there with them, but there's the following them. That's a big old task.
Huge. And let's not mess about here, and you'll tell me to be quiet here, but if the director of rugby job gets advertised, worldwide, right? Roddy Deans doesn't get the job, right?
Come on.
Nah. I'm not stupid. There's big hitters come in and take that job because that's the way it is. I think though I'd done enough in that point where I was working with Moff that I could put my hand up and go, "No, I can do this job." But to be fair, I definitely needed that time with Moff, to become a better human being, a better coach. And Moff is the master getting the best out of every single individual, but knowing how to treat people well. H.E. That is what Moff is the master at. There's nobody better, and I've never come across anybody that can do that better. So my sort of CPD, for example, over those 3 years I got to work with Moff, was the best CPD you could ever imagine. I couldn't have bought that. So that kick-started me on my journey to Merchiston. And I just hit the ground running, I suppose. I was really lucky at the time to have some really, really strong year groups and some amazing players. And just went from strength to strength. And I think the longer you're in an organisation, the more you can influence it. And the team we've got around us at Merchiston in terms of the coaches and the PE department and the wider staff, it's just a big family up there, and we all look after each other. Coming back to that, you were a massive part of that as well, and I'll still never forget the time when I phoned you and said, "Right, H, come on, it's time." It's time. Because let's be honest, we've known each other since P5, H, and we talked about this for a long time. When we're going to coach together, because we've coached against each other a lot.
Yeah. I have to admit, like, back to your bit. Like we spoke. I remember saying to you, "I want to coach with you," and we it nearly happened, and it didn't, and. Yeah. I never thought it was going to be a private boarding school in Edinburgh because I didn't even know existed until I don't know how old I was. But it was an incredible time, and geez, we talking about memories and mentors and CPD. Geez, I got that in spades with you. Listen, pal, it's an absolute joy. I've been trying to pin you down for this for a long time, but I am going to ask you this one.
Yeah.
So for me, happiness is egg-shaped. For Roddy Deans, happiness is?
Oh, come on, man. What is it for me? I don't know. You know me. Like, that sounds really, really cliche, but there's just relationships, isn't it?
Yeah, I get it. You've got, and that's, you never give yourself a pat on the back. You have sometimes, but always in a humble way. But that's, you talk about point of difference. That's the Roddy Deans point of difference, because you give everything. You give everything, and everybody that you've supported will be able to testify to that. All the best to Totem. I'm going to see you soon. I hope the wheels just keep on chugging. You and Nick DeLuca, I think, first it's Peebles, then it's Take On the World. It sounds like an incredible resource that's going to help a lot of people. Look after yourself, pal. Great to see you. I absolutely love speaking to you.
Thank you very much for your time, Mitchie. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, pal. How good, the one and the only Mr. Rodney Deans. I could be there forever, and I'm lucky because I'll get the chance to go and do that another time, and I love the chats, talking about you never leave them without learning something, you never leave them without feeling a bit better. The impact that man has had is, you can't measure it. And he mentioned people like Rob Moffat, same story, but Roddy Deans is the next cab off the rack. My name is Bruce Aitchison from the Happiness Is podcast. My happiness is egg-shaped. You can catch us on Apple, Acast, Spotify. You can watch on YouTube and get your pods from wherever. Tell your friends there's more to come. Totem rugby camps are coming in April, but there will definitely be more. All the best. Look after yourself, and I'll speak to you all again very, very soon. Prepare for an unforgettable rugby experience at the 4th Aegean Rugby Festival in Hania, Crete, Greece, on June the 7th and 8th, 2025. This one-of-a-kind event combines beach and sevens rugby on the same action-packed weekend. Group games are on Saturday with knockout stages on Sunday, all officiated by certified Rugby Europe referees. Compete with teams from across Europe and beyond, and celebrate with an epic beach after-party on Hania's Golden Sands. Prize money, exclusive goodies, and memories that will last a lifetime await you. For full details, click on www.aegeanrugbyfestival.com and our Facebook and Instagram pages. See you there.